Hello and welcome to a new series called Ryan and Rob in Wrexham. This is episode 1 and it's quite a popular save, I'd imagine, given the takeover last year of Wrexham by Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds. It's a completely bizarre story, that one, but certainly makes for an interesting save, and the club is in a good position to rise up. And I think the long-term aim for them is to get to the Premier League, as you'd imagine most clubs would have. Whether that's something that will be realised in real life, who knows? But certainly, I think with the financial backing they've got from the two of them, they've already invested 2 million into the club in real life. They'll have a good opportunity to shoot up the league, really. Whether they get all the way, hard to say. But certainly there is potential in this club, and that's shown by their signing of Mullin. I think it's Paul Mullin Paul Mullin in this summer. He came from Cambridge in League Two and scored 32 goals in League Two. So safe to say he it's quite surprising that he went down to the National League, but clearly the money on offer was enough to convince him to come. Also odd looking at his history, didn't look like he was doing up very much in League Two until last season, where he just absolutely went off. 32 goals at the age of 26, so I guess maybe he just filled out his ability a bit more, and a few raised eyebrows when he first moved. Now, my aim in this series is to get Wrexham to the Premier League, and not only get us there, but to win it and to win the Champions League. Obviously, that's a long way off, but it's going to make for a fun save, and it's a fun team to actually take charge of. Obviously, we've got Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. As we see here, Ryan Reynolds here. I haven't been able to see Rob McElhenney yet in the game, but I'm sure he's there somewhere. I suspect maybe because Ryan Reynolds is a bit more front and centre in the project, he might be just the main focus of the game, but we'll see. So currently, we have Ben Tozer as our captain. Looks like a decent option with 18 long throws as well from centre back. Not sure I want to play him there, given to have him on throws, given he is a centre back. We don't want him getting caught up the pitch. And then Luke Young is our vice captain, but isn't necessarily on a first team level. So Wrexham, according to Ryan Reynolds, was the third oldest club in world football. I'm not actually convinced that's true. From what I can see, it is in the top 10, but it's not quite in the top 3. But maybe he knows more about it than me, given that he is the owner of the club. And it was founded in 1864. I think the only team that's been in the Premier League recently older than that is Stoke City. So that gives you a rough idea of the history and heritage of this club, which is actually based in Wales. So they're one of the few clubs, along with the likes of Swansea and Cardiff, that are able to participate in the English league system despite being Welsh. And that certainly makes for an interesting challenge, being a Welsh team trying to establish dominance in England. And if we have a look, I think Newport are also one of those clubs, and that's why there's a competitive rivalry, I guess, here. But so we've got a really exciting project here. If we have a look at some of the recent history, they were in a pretty good position in 2000s, or very early 2000s, before they got relegated. So 2000 to 2001 they were in League One and in 10th, so a decent position to be in. Relegated, promoted, back into League One for a couple of seasons before being relegated again, and then from there it was a steady decline into the Vanarama National League. And before they were taken over, they finished 19th, so almost slipped down another league. And last season they finished 8th. This season, I'm not quite sure where they are in real life. Let's have a quick check. But I believe that they're not quite at the top of the league. They are second place, comfortably behind Stockport. So I believe that means that they'll go into some playoffs, because I'm pretty sure it's only the top team in the league that goes up. It might be different. Let's have a look at competitions. Yeah, just top team goes in without the playoffs, and then they are in a good position from the playoffs. They are in second place and a couple of points ahead of most of the other teams, but it looks pretty close in the league. They're on 68 points, Chesterfield on 67, Halifax on 66, and Solihull Moors on 64. And there's a few games left in the season, about 12 games. Now, this story was slightly unexpected because the club wasn't even up for sale. It was being owned by fans, by the fan club since 2011. So basically, the third year that they were in the Vanarama National League. They did actually get second in 2011, 2012, but they just don't quite have the financial backing they needed to get much further. That is obviously not the case now. It's quite obvious that having two Hollywood actors, including one who's a complete A-list and one who's pretty well known as well, you're in a good position to be financially backed, and that's shown by the overall balance, which would be good for some championship teams, never mind for a non-league team. Now, the squad was looking pretty good. Paul Mullin was our strongest player, but if we have a look at the incomings, lots of signings. I won't go through all of them. A lot of these were done before I actually had anything to do with them. But yeah, there's the Paul Mullin signing that was a bit unexpected for a lot of people. So I've signed Leighton Ndukwu. We didn't really have a right winger, and I do want to play a 4-4-2, or at least a lopsided 4-4-2. So he was a natural signing. Conor O'Malley is now the best goalkeeper in the division. He came on a free from Peterborough in League One, actually has played games in League One before. We then got Adrian Pajasiti from Fulham on loan. He looks like a good young option. Not going to be world class by any stretch of the imagination, but a good loan option. And then our other loan option is Kellen Gordon, who can play anywhere from right back to right wing and is basically going to be our backup right winger for Ndukwu. Our final signing was Jordan Mustoe with a complete wing back position, 3-star, looks pretty good for this level, and he's 30, so he won't be around for too long in this save, but certainly has some potential to be an important part of getting into the league system. So this is what we're going for in terms of the system. We've got two wing backs on the left and right hand side. Ball playing defender in Hayden. We do actually have a couple of players who can play ball playing defender, but I figured it was best to have just one of them playing at any one time, or at least on that role, purely because at non-league you don't want to have players taking too many risks on the ball in their defence. And then we move on to the other positions. We've got a left winger, but as a left midfielder role rather than a full out winger role, and Ndukwu is the inverted winger in that winger role. And then we've got a target forward who is Ollie Palmer, 4-star, and looks pretty good. 14 heading, 196 centimetres, so he's quite tall, this guy. And very good mental stats, really, really impressive those. And then obviously Paul Mullin, the star of the show. He doesn't look quite as good as Palmer in a lot of respects here, but I think he's going to be scoring a lot of goals for us. So without further ado, I'd say it's probably time to head into our first game. And that game is against Yeovil. Yeovil are, I don't know where they're predicted to be. Let's have a look at the season predictions. Yeovil are expected to be 14th, so we should be able to turn them over pretty easily. No one is quite in as much danger as Dover. Apparently they forfeited a match last year, and that's resulted in them getting a 12-point deduction. So they're in a pretty difficult position. They're not going to be winning the league this season, but we are not even on evens, or 11 to 10 for going up. So we should go up. So if I don't, everyone knows who to blame. It's pretty much our strongest squad to start the season. We haven't got any injuries, so just exactly as we would hope to have in any real game. Always love Sonny Low Everton. I don't know what level he will ever be in real life. Maybe this is his level, but I feel like I see him quite a lot in these saves. I'm not really sure why, but it's certainly a name that sticks out to me. We will just adjust some of these settings because this is too slow. We also don't want extended highlights. Yeah, there we go. Now that's all sorted, we can focus purely on the game and hopefully get a good start. As you can see from the average positions, we are completely dominating the territory. I am pressing high, both with my forward line and my defence. And, it's a red card within 15 minutes of the start of the save. That was an awful tackle from Gorman. But yeah, looking at their starting positions, they're barely getting out their half. So it would be disappointing if we can't make the most of this. But, early on in a save when the team's not fully gelled, it can be difficult to get goals that you are trying to score from many, many, many chances. In fact, I might go attacking just because there are only 10 players for Yeovil in today's game. We already have the territory. Interestingly, it looks like our fullbacks, who are both playing a wing-back role, are behind the centre-backs in their average position, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Let's give the boys a bit of a rollicking and hope that they can turn it around and do something with that territory, because we haven't really had any chances yet. Davies into Jones, and that's a really good strike from James Jones. Left-footed finish from about 25 yards. Very, very good finish, that. Really good goal. And that is what we were looking for. We can drop back to positive again, I think. And Hosanna, which is quite a good name. A nice one to say in every single game. Mullin's shot blocked. And O'Connor. Mullin now exchanges passes with O'Connor. And Davies off the bar. Cleared out by the Yeovil defender. We're really starting to turn the screw here. Deserving our lead, even if it came from a shot that was not what you would usually expect to score from. And Yeovil seem to have regressed even more and are now playing with a 5-back, 3 midfielders and only 1 forward. So they're clearly going for not getting absolutely smashed here. And Ollie Palmer, using his target man abilities to head that home. Really good header. Towering over his defender. And never likely to be out-jumped there. Definitely time for some substitutes. I think we'll get Pajaciti on for O'Connor. And we'll give Jordan Musto some time because he needs to get his fitness up. I think we'll also get Kellen Gordon on. He's predominantly a right back, but we're going to be playing him mainly as a backup winger. And Ndukwu able to chase down a slightly hopeful cross. And Hayden now picks up the pieces, finds a really good ball for McFadzean. And his cross deflects out for a corner. And now the triple change has gone through. Hosanna on the right hand side, sending the throw in. Gordon now. Pajaciti. Hosanna. And Davies somehow makes its way to Palmer, who once again towers over his defender. And something tells me he could be a contender with Mullin for top scorer in the league this season. He's not in any of the lists of predicted top scorers. But when he's that tall in non-league, it's a pretty useful trait to have. Mullin may be the best finisher at this level, but I think Palmer has the beating of him in terms of how he's suited for this level of football on Football Manager. Real life, maybe that's not the case, but certainly I think Ollie Palmer is a good option. Come to think that I think Ollie Palmer might have been linked with Manchester City. I remember they were linked with a very tall non-league striker in January before they went to get Julian Alvarez. I don't know if it's Palmer, but I seem to remember the name, which just shows his quality, I guess. Not sure he'd necessarily translate to a top-level Premier League player, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. And that's a really good 3-0 win on our debut. Lots of debuts for the players. My debut as well. new owners are happy with us as well, I'd imagine. Really good performance from Hosanna there with an 8.4. And Ollie Palmer, where did he come from? Been bouncing around the leagues. Started in Woking. I suspect it may not have been him then, given he's 29. I think it was probably a much younger target man that City were looking at. But that's a really, really positive start. Well, it's been a really positive start to this save. It's a very exciting one, and we're going for exactly what the new owners have promised, or at least aimed for. They're definitely aiming to get to the top of England, of the English football pyramid. That's where we're going. We're also going for Europe as well. Whether that's necessarily in their wildest dreams, I don't know. But it always makes for a fun save, trying to do these non-league to legend type saves. Going from the players where you look at their stats and you just have no idea what they're ever going to be able to achieve, to the greatest players in the world, and building up the reputation of the club. Eventually building a new stadium when you get to the very top. It's going to be a really fun save, and I couldn't have asked for a much better start, to be honest. 3-0 in our first game, really convincing performance, and it looks like we might blow teams away this season. So the overall shape of this save will probably be a couple of episodes from each season as we go up, and once we get to probably the Championship, if we do get there, who knows? Hard to guarantee at this point, but I'd like to think so. I've won the Champions League before in similar saves. Once we get to the Championship, I would hope that we could have a few more episodes per season, but up until then it'll be more of a every so often you'll see an update and see which players we've brought in, see the shape of the squad, the shape of the facilities, the staff, and just see the general progress of the team from a non-league team that should batter pretty much every team in division to a team that's going to be struggling in the lower ends of the Premier League, and then a team that will win the Champions League, we hope. That could be a very long save. It could be it doesn't even end before FM22 ends, but I'd hope in the next few months we will see a world-class Wrexham team. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this episode, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channels. It really helps me out. I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day.